My name is Nigel Silito. Welcome to another episode of Financial Bites. I'm outside a Lebanese restaurant called Grand Beirut in the Galleria Mall next to Abu Dhabi Global Market. So is this going to be a buy, sell or hold recommendation? You'll soon find out. But in the meantime, let's go inside and see who my special guest is today. So my special guest today is Chris Hughes, who is Editor-in-Chief of Abu Dhabi Finance Week. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This episode of Financial Bites, which is in this lovely Lebanese restaurant. Have you ever been here before?
First time. I've seen it a few times. Beautiful flowers at the front, but first time eating in here.
And
I'm on a bit of a diet at the minute, you see. So.
Oh, well, we'll go healthy today.
Yeah.
We'll go healthy today. And Lebanese food generally is actually quite healthy and it's great for sharing. So no doubt we're going to have some mezza. But before we look at the menu, maybe, Chris, you could just explain to everyone what you actually do in this wonderful financial center, Abu Dhabi Global Market.
Well, welcome to ADGM. Good to have you here. As you mentioned, I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Abu Dhabi Finance Week, which is an investment meeting that happens every December. It's coming into its fourth edition. It's quickly become, some people say, quite a big thing. So my job is to make sure that the overall program, is something worth attending. I lead the speaker acquisition and the program development and oversee all of the 65 events that happen across the week. And we built it, I'm very proud to say, into the strongest assemblage of financial leadership in the world in the week that it happens. This year we'll bring together CEOs, presidents, chairmen of organizations collectively managing $60 trillion.
So we've looked at the menu. So, Chris, let's order a couple of different starters, mezza,
All right.
and maybe lamb kafta to share.
Sounds good.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
I've got to ask, you've lost a ton of weight since I've last seen you. So
A little bit.
what's the secret?
Okay, so at this
Confess.
point, I should tell you that it was the gym and I'm eating very healthy and I have a salad for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But that would not be true, and I wouldn't tell a lie. The secret is that every Sunday, in this modern world that we live in, every Sunday, I take a little pen out of the fridge. It's called Manjaro, and then I eat nothing for the next week.
And how much have you lost?
I worked this out this morning, actually. 27 kg.
So 27
27,
kg.
yeah.
In what time?
Maybe 4 months, 5 months.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, I needed to. So I have this. In about 2 weeks from now, I have a little daughter coming into the world.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get in good shape for her.
Understood.
So
Was that the motivating factor?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, having kids, they need you around for a long time, and carrying a wee bit too much weight, can affect your health in all sorts of ways. And I just thought, you know what,
well,
time to get healthy.
Okay, we're going to go healthy then for this lunch. So let's order. We'll review the food.
We'll get
and
salad.
Yeah, okay, well, more than just a salad, I hope. I'm starving. And then there are a couple of questions I like to ask all my guests. So we'll do that over the food itself. Chris, sorry to interrupt while you're eating, but I like to ask all my guests the same 3 questions. And the first one is, if Abu Dhabi Finance Week was a dish, what would it be?
Very good question. We're in a Lebanese, I think, a mezza platter. Why is that? You've got variety, but it's very unified. You've got an international flair, but it's very local. And it's well presented and a shared experience for everyone. I think, it's about being local and being international at the same time. Ultimately, the reason we do Abu Dhabi Finance Week is to bring people in, connect our local market here, but also increasingly the world is interested in our local market. So, it's international and local at the same time.
Yeah, like it. And what's the one trend in Abu Dhabi or related to your finance week that you believe is overhyped and one thing that maybe doesn't get enough attention?
Yeah, good question. Overhyped. Well, I think too many people are too one-dimensional about the fundraising process. I think for a long time you've had a lot of, you might call them suitcase bankers, flying into Abu Dhabi for a day, doing the houses, and then flying out again, hoping that they picked up a check. I can kind of see that changing. I can kind of see that it's becoming a much more nuanced relationship. That we're building a marketplace here that has a real emphasis on development for the marketplace. And I think that end of things is definitely growing quickly. Ultimately, like any ecosystem, things grow there. Sometimes they grow quickly. Sometimes they grow on a longer term basis. But they always grow when you have a good ecosystem. And when you see this marketplace, the Abu Dhabi global market, and Finance Week is a kind of microcosm of the ADGM. You see it as the ecosystem, and you see all sorts of interesting things growing in all sorts of interesting ways. And I think that's really interesting to watch.
Great, thank you. And before we tuck in again, if you went back to the start of your career, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself now?
Yeah. Okay, so if it's specifically about career, so I'm a fancy event manager. That's what I do. I put on a particularly important event, but it's just principles of event management. And when you're 12 years old, event management is not necessarily the type of thing that a lot of people would hope to go on and do. But I did, and there was a very specific event that led me there. That when I was a kid, a boy back in Ireland, I witnessed a very special event happening called the Good Friday Agreement, which was the peace accord in the north of Ireland, where North of Ireland had a lot of issues, a lot of sort of civil unrest for a long time. And people got together eventually at a meeting, at an event, and they talked and talked and talked until they resolved their issues. And, they brought peace to the country. So I was very influenced from a very young age by the power of the right people meeting the right people at the right time, about and approaching it in the right spirit. And that was a hugely influential thing in terms of my chosen career to put events on, to bring people together. Not all events have as noble an outcome as peace for a country, but if one investor meets an entrepreneur at an Abu Dhabi Finance Week and that results in 10 new jobs for people 6 months later, that's a success. So I believe that events have a real power when they're convened properly. And so the advice I would give myself looking back was stick to your plan. It's okay to be an event manager, and try and be the best one you possibly can be.
Great, thank you.
Intelligently engineered connectivity. If the organizer can truly think about who needs to meet who and why, and in what setting or context, then relevant meetings can happen between people, which can then spark off some type of progress. Again, the serendipitous encounter. If I'm an early stage entrepreneur building a risk and security software company, and I need to raise my first $1 million to hire my first team and get an MVP up and running, being in a room with 500 investors is probably not the best approach for me. Being in a room with 5 of the right investors is the right approach for me. So how do how do you kind of bring people together who might have commonality in thought? This is where, with Finance Week, we've now grown it into 65 different events. So again, that risk and security entrepreneur knows that on day 3, in the afternoon, there is a 3-hour forum focused entirely on the risk and security industry, which is a $100 billion industry in itself, right? So it's being around the kind of 80 or 100 people there that they can kind of look around and spot that investor that they've just always wanted to meet, who's a good investor in like cybersecurity, right? And that's kind of how you help filter people's experiences so that they meet the people they need to meet. Okay. Sadly, most events are useless.
No, I agree. I've been to many that are absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, you end up wondering why you're there in the first place. But if you go to an event, you come away with like 8 or 10 quality new connections that are relevant to your job, relevant to your work, and relevant to your objectives, then it's transformational. Like to spend time meeting 8 or 10 new people who may transform your very business is one of the best ways you can spend your time. But if you go there and you don't meet anyone, then it's probably equally bad. So this is what I think.
Thank you. And my final question is, loads of hedge fund managers have set up operations in the UAE, particularly in Abu Dhabi. Why do you think so many hedge fund managers from New York or from London or from Asia are setting up here in the UAE?
There's not one single reason. I know the reason everyone thinks that they're here to fundraise, but that's probably only a kind of, I don't think it's the primary reason people are coming. People are coming for a few reasons. People are really attracted to the lifestyle in this country. If you're a portfolio manager, in a hedge fund, and you're operating, trading at a high level, to live in this environment, safety, security, enjoyment. You can fly to so many interesting places around the world, in fairly short order. The financial situation is pretty good for a lot of people here. Quality of housing, diversity of thought. So it's a kind of fun place to live. That's the first reason. The second reason is that the global order is changing a lot, and you have an increasing need to be just closer to Asia. And this is kind of, what is it they say, that 70% of the world's population is available within like a 4-hour flight of the UAE, something like that. Might not be 100% accurate. You know what I mean? I think that gives like a bit of an edge, a bit of a competitive edge when you're kind of trading Japan in the morning and trading the US in the afternoon. I think a lot of people are coming for that reason. So, lifestyle, proximity, the opportunity, and fundraising, I think they're the reasons.
Great. Thank you very much. So I've just finished my meal with Chris Hughes, what a fantastic guest he made. As for the cost, and obviously I'm paying for this myself because I've got to remain totally independent, it came in at 208 dirhams, which included a 15% tip. Now, I should point out that Chris and I are trying to actually count the calories these days, so we didn't eat too much, but let's quickly review it. On the quality of food, I'd say it was 9 out of 10. The lamb kofta was particularly good. Ambience is fantastic. A lot of Instagram influencers apparently come here, so I think the setting is superb. So ambience is a 10 out of 10. As for the service, faultless, a 9 out of 10. And as for value for money, I think it's a 9 out of 10. So if you are living and working in the ADGM area, this is a great place to come for lunch. And if you like this video, please do remember to give it the thumbs up. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode.